You to tap the screen as you come in, share the live with your friends, other creators here on TikTok, so that we can have more people with various opinions and thoughts on our topic. Tonight, as you could see, as you were coming in, we are talking about having husband and wife benefits as a boyfriend or girlfriend, or being a husband or wife before the actual commitment. So I've got some special guests that are joining me a little bit in a few minutes on the live tonight. I'm excited about this conversation. I was on a fellow friend, fellow creator, Lore Bro Code. I was in his live, and it was a really heated discussion, a really heated conversation about this very topic. And it was several other topics, and we really didn't get to unpack what this means. And so tonight, I want to commit this show tonight to talk about it. What are your feelings about being a wife before getting commitment, or being a husband, having those responsibilities or those benefits before walking down the aisle? What does that look like? What does that really mean? You all know me. As I give my opening monologue on this topic while I wait for our guests to come in, and if you've been asked to be a part of this live, please, if I miss you coming in, please hit the guest box so that I can bring you on up. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ina. How are you, beautiful? Again, I'm Angel Carmel. The dialogue box is always open for conversation because I don't want to have a conversation with just myself. I want to have a conversation with you. How can you have a conversation with me? You must have at least 1,000 followers. That's a TikTok rule. That's not Conversations with Angel. You must have 1,000 followers to be able to come live with me and have a conversation. If this is your very first time on Conversations with Angel, hello, Royale. If this is your first time, you have to come on camera. Otherwise, I don't know who you are, and I want to make certain that you are who you say you are. And we want to see your handsome or beautiful face. If you have been a guest on Conversations with Angel and you are in a position where you cannot come on camera, I certainly understand that, but we really want people to come on camera so that we can have some FaceTime with you. So as you come in, please, please, please tap the screen, share the live. I am so excited to have a myriad of guests to join me tonight. So there's a couple things that I researched on this topic. You all know that I'm a research geek and I love to read. Are we playing house when we say that we are a husband or a wife before the actual, something just flew in my face. Are we playing house when we say that we're a husband or a wife before our time? Did you know that you could be cohabitating with someone or living with someone or in an exclusive relationship with someone and one of you all fall ill? Hello, Evans. Why did I say heavens? Evans is heaven. I hope that you're going to be able to join us tonight, sweetheart. One of my favorite creators, the confidence coach, Evans. Why is it that, or what happens when one of you gets really ill? There's relationship gumbo. Hello, Dr. John, seeing all these amazing people. I hope that you all are ready to come in to the dialogue box. I would love for you to chime in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. I'm sending you all requests. Hopefully you have them on. Dr. Ja, I don't see you. I don't see a way to request you. I hope that you're able to come in the box. If I sent this to you and said, please, please, please. I've heard your views. I know what you're thinking. Okay, Evans, no problem. So I want you to come in. Relationship gumbo. Hello, handsome. How are you?
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I am fabulous.
Trying to get this camera thing together. Give me a second.
Okay, get your camera thing together while I continue. So those of you all here, let's get to 10,000. So here's the reason why many creators stress this in the beginning of their lives, particularly when it's a topic that we're passionate about. One of the reasons, oh, there's my friend Carrie. One of the reasons why I am on here and do conversations with Angel every single week. Carrie's Corner. Carrie, I hope that you're able to join us to talk about this topic. So part of the reason why we ask you all to tap the screens and to get us to 10,000 likes, this is how we get to the For You page. People in the box should not and cannot, we should not tap. So I shouldn't tap the screen, and Relationship Gumbo or anybody else who comes into the live, please, 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 please don't tap the screen because it confuses the algorithm. But those of you in the chat participating, typing in your comments and your opinions, I ask you to please tap the screen. Let's get to 10,000 likes. There he is. Hello, Relationship Gumbo. Hello, love. Continue to tap, share the live. What are we talking about tonight? Tonight, our topic is husband, wife, as a girlfriend or boyfriend. Should you or should you not? Should your boyfriend, ladies, be receiving wifey benefits before he gets the ring? Fellas, should your girlfriend be receiving husband benefits before you ask her down the aisle? A couple of things to note. If you are in a relationship, a serious, exclusive, committed relationship with someone, and one of you falls ill, that person cannot make a health decision for you as your boyfriend. Now, you might be living together. You may even have children together. Well, having a children with a man that's not your husband or with a woman not your husband doesn't make them a spouse. It makes them a parent. So if something happens to one of you, and you become incapacitated, that person, as your boyfriend or as your girlfriend, cannot make health decisions on your behalf. God forbid something happens and you pass away. You will be listed on the obituary as the special friend. Not the husband, not the wife. That's something to think about, food for thought. This creator that has joined me tonight is an amazing, he's a relationship coach. I just recently learned that he's a DJ too. I was in his live and he was on the ones and twos. He was even taking requests and all that good stuff. But Relationship Gumbo, welcome again to Conversations with Angel. Hey, what do you think? Should we be husband and wives as girlfriend and boyfriends?
This is an interesting question because I think there's some semantics to it, right? Like, what would an individual classify as a husband or a wife duty, right? Where do we draw the line, right? Take out the marriage certificate and all of that. Mm-hmm. Duties, not the legal stuff, but what are the actual duties that separate, right? I guarantee you, if you ask one group of people, that list is going to be different than another group of people. Ooh, what are those things? Are we talking about like, and then at what point are we talking about 2 months in? Are we talking about 2 years in? So my answer isn't as cut and dry because I think for a lot of people who are in the boyfriend and girlfriend stage, It's really more about qualifying who you're with versus what you do for them. Get it? To me. So the do for them thing, some people will like what would be classified as a wifely duty.
Good, excellent point. So I'm glad you asked that. Now, do I demonstrate? Let's say you and I are in a relationship, Gumbo.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay for me to demonstrate that I can be a wife? Or do I give you wife benefits? For example, in my opinion, this is Angel's opinion. This is not the gospel. This is Angel's opinion.
Got to get the disclaimers out.
Got to get the disclaimer out. I believe that two individuals should be financially responsible before getting married. If I demonstrate to you, my boyfriend, that I am financially responsible, I believe that that makes me wifey material.
Right.
If I'm a homemaker, meaning I have my own place, rent, own, whatever, but I have my own place. I don't have roommates. I'm not staying with parents or family members. I have my own place. I've made my house a home. I believe that makes me wifey material.
So let me qualify what we're doing here.
Thank you, Roy.
So what you're talking about is, do you have the traits or the qualifications to be a wife versus a wife or a husband duty, right? Which one are we doing? Because the duties is where it's gray for me, right? Because someone could say, well, I'm cooking meals for him and that's a wifey duty, but if you qualified this person to even be committed to you, why would it be a distinction to me? Like, you're doing something for somebody you care about.
So
now, if you do it for somebody that you have not qualified and y'all just hanging out, yeah, you're doing too much.
You're doing too much. So I believe that cooking for the person that you love, that you're in a relationship, to me, this is just to me, I don't think that is wifey duties or husband duties. Because I cook for my friends. I have girlfriends that I've cooked for. I have, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, am I cooking for this person every single day, fixing their lunch, fixing them breakfast? I think that's doing too much. Okay, let's talk about paying bills. If I'm in a committed relationship, you and I, Gumbo, are in a relationship, and you come to me and you say, Angel, I don't have the credit to buy this car. Will you co-sign for me? Is that a wifey duty or girlfriend duty?
Oh, this is fun. Where's Evans? Where the heck is Evans?
Listen, I don't believe so normally I am totally even keel on conversations with Angel. I try not to take a side or show my side until the end. In this particular discussion, though, I think it's important to know where Angel is coming from. I do not believe in co-signing for anyone unless you're legally bonded to them, meaning a husband or wife. I just don't believe you should do that. Because if something happens to the relationship, you're stuck like Chuck. Hey, Evans!
Hello.
So we have, ladies and gentlemen, conversations
Gumbo,
with
my
Angel.
favorite.
We have a married man and a single man.
So who's single? Wait, who what?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you married?
Who's married? Who's married? Wait, what? What?
Okay, so we have two married men. What? How did I forget that? You absolutely are, because you talked about your wife the last time. I guess you know what I'm thinking about. Paul B, who I
Paul
hope
B
is
is
able to
definitely
join us.
single.
He's
Paul B
single,
is
yeah.
single. That's who I'm thinking about. So I'm hoping that Paul B is able to come on because I want to have a mixture of married and single because I'm curious to know for the married people that join us tonight on Conversations what happened and what that looked like for you because you obviously the end result is marriage. Did that change the dynamic? So we'll get into that a little bit later. But as far as Angel is concerned, um, I believe that you are supposed to be husband and wife to do those types of financial transactions
Hmm.
when it comes to my health. Gumbo and I are in this relationship, and I am in a terrible accident. We've been living together. We love each other. We share bank accounts together, all of these things together, but we're not married. If my daughter comes to the hospital, who's going to get to see me? My partner or my daughter? If something happens and I need resuscitating, if I don't have a DNR on file, a do not resuscitate or anything like that, who are they going to ask? My daughter, not my partner. And he'll be, if I leave this earth, he'll be the special friend that they mentioned in the obituary, not my husband. So, do I believe that you should demonstrate the ability to be a wife or be a husband? Absolutely. But I don't believe that you should give the benefits of a wife or a husband. Hey, Evans, this is another amazing content creator. He is a relationship and confidence coach. He's married. He has beautiful. I think he's the only testosterone in his household. Uh, so he gives a lot of insight on men and women because he's got a house full of beautiful queens and princesses. Evans, what is your
Yes.
perspective? Do you believe that someone should be husband, wife, as boyfriend and girlfriend? What say you?
I do. I do. In short, I'll say I do.
All right, let's
However,
hear it.
there you can go too far with it. However, you can go too far with it. Um, Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here
Absolutely.
with my brother Gumbo, a man I have much respect for. All right. Unfortunately, you kind of have to do a role play in relationships. It's like a practice run. Gives you an idea of how this person is going to react, hopefully after marriage. No matter how much testing, no matter how much vetting, it's always possible that there's something that you did not discover. However, I am of the belief that because of the toxic nature of relationships that exist today, you are going to have to test the waters. You are going to have to be wife before you become wife. You are going to have to be husband before you become husband. You are going to have to become everything that you are testing that person to be. In other words, and I tend to call it my vetting process, which is prior to marriage. I break it down not by days. I don't have the 90-day rule or any of these rules that has a specific time. I believe in what's called, Lord, what's going on, brother? I call it moments. You simply have to be able to cross all the moments. Hey, how you doing, Jazz? All the moments that are necessary. I need to see, I want the woman and the man to see their partner angry, happy, excited, elated,
Hmm.
during graduation, during a demotion, if you get fired. You need to see a lot of these things. It may not be possible, but I encourage that these things occur. I would tell people who you're not quite in a deep, um, extensive relationship. If that person is going through a graduation, I don't care if they're graduating on the other side of America. Go. You need to see how that person reacts in these moments, because all these moments explain who this person truly is. It gives you a picture that can last a lifetime, and it can be humongous. So I said all that to say this: yes, you are going to do wifely duties. There was a time where family was, um, the breeding
Playtime.
ground for husbands and wives. Remember when parents used to say, "Hey, you can have my daughter," and I have been an example for him this entire time. So I can look at the parents and say, I trust. Today, that no longer exists. Now, the entire vetting process almost never include the parents. Nowadays, people say, it's my relationship. My parents have nothing to do with it. You're marrying me. Don't worry about them. So I don't have Omega, my brother. I don't have an example to see what you're going to be like. I don't have a person that I can call and say, "Hey, your daughter's acting a fool here." That's long gone. That doesn't exist any longer. And since that is the case, your entire vetting is dependent upon that person. You are going to be a wife way before I put a ring on you. You are going to be a husband before I accept that ring. It is imperative, because long gone are the days where you can look at any other metric and try to figure who this person is.
So, but what I'm hearing you say, Evans, is demonstrating the ability and not giving the full benefits of. And I think that that's important. I think we really need to unpack what the difference is. Unless you're saying that all of those things happen when you're under the same roof. Are we cohabitating? Are we and if that is the case, then what happens to the rights that we don't have because we're not legally connected to one another? Yes, Gumbo.
You on mute, Evans.
So sorry.
Oh, I thought you
Uh-uh.
was praising the Lord. Were you
No,
raising your
no.
hand?
I totally get the residing with the, in my mind, I formulate the only time you're going to do the living with each other if you are talking two of the young, I'm sorry, older rather than younger. If you are younger, there's too many games where the guy just want the experience. The guy just want to have in-house, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that residing with each other isn't the way that I would prefer.
Okay.
However, for the older folks, you're talking 25 and up, 30 and up, I think living with the person has many benefits before you cross. Because again, you got to understand how my mind works. I don't believe in married, divorce if things don't work out. It's married and we're going to work it out. Therefore, we got to get it all out up front, because the moment you cross over and you put that ring on, we're going to work it out for the rest of our lives.
Wow.
So I look at marriage very different from others may say, "Oh well, I made a mistake. We'll just go to the court and end it." I don't see that at all.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to come back to that thought because I've got I have an opinion on that as well. We have yet again another married man that is joined. I want to get different perspectives. Where are my ladies? Where are my single people? But the benefit of having these amazing married men is that we are hearing different perspectives on this whole wifey as a girlfriend, hubby as a boyfriend. And this last creator that has joined us, Omega, is amazing. His platform is fantastic. The first time that I was live with him was, I believe, in Laura's live, I think it was, and we had a blast. It was
Yeah,
great.
very
And
good.
hopefully Laura will be able to join us a little bit later. Of course, Laura is another married guy. I mean, we need some single guys to come up here.
We're reliable. We can rely
And
on
but you
them.
know what? I'm blessed to have you all. If you're not following these amazing creators, these men, please, please, please tap on their names, follow them back. Their content is amazing. You won't be disappointed. Welcome, 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 Omega. If you did not hear the question, should you act as a wife, as a girlfriend, or a husband as a boyfriend? What are your thoughts on this topic?
Oh, we did talk about this, sister, and thank you for that wonderful intro. The edification was amazing. Thank you. Um, I believe there's a big line you should be cautious of when doing this. I'm not a firm believer in doing this on a consistent basis. Um,
Mm,
I believe you should showcase your worth, but I do believe there are levels to access to you. So a
mm.
person should be able to see that you could be a good husband or you could be a good wife. They should be able to see that, but they should not be able to access it at a wife or husband level until they've made that commitment, in my opinion.
Interesting. I love it. So,
Yeah.
really quick commercial break. Everyone, please, please, let's tap the screen. Let's get our likes to 10,000. Us four cannot tap the screen because it confuses the algorithm, but everyone else, please, please, please tap the screen. If I have any moderators, I think I saw Charles come in the live, please encourage tapping and sharing. Thank you all so much for the gifts that you have given. All of these creators definitely deserve the coins, so thank you for the gifts. Please tap the screen, tap, 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 so that we can get to 10,000, so that we can stay on the FYP and share the live with at least 5 people. Thank you all so much. So I think Gumbo wanted to respond to something that was said earlier. I think I hear kind of the same thing, but different things from all three of you all. But one thing that is common from what you've said is you must see it demonstrated. And I think that is critical. Critical. So I was going down my list before I go to Gumbo. What I see, and I have not seen this yet in any guy that I've dated as of late, all of these things, what I see, and I believe that I should be looking for husband things too. Financially responsible, a homemaker, caretaker of their home or their castle, a good person, just an overall good person. Character means everything to Angel. To be able to get a job and make money. Notice that I didn't say anything about 6 figures, millionaire, because I believe that if you have a job and you have the ability to make money, you are showing that you are a provider. And with me adding what I bring, the two of us can be rich. And I'm not talking monetarily. So I need for you to be working and have the ability to make money. I need for you to have a purpose and invite me in to help you get to that purpose. If we are dating and I see and hear your purpose, I'm going to do everything in my power to help you see that purpose and see where your purpose aligns in with where I am going as well. Is it complement? Are we in competition with one another? Well, if we're in competition, then how do we bring that thing together? And if we can't, perhaps you're not husband material for me. And then, is he a good communicator? And I'm not just talking about with just me. How does he communicate with other people? And how does he communicate with people that are in a subordinate position? What do you mean by that, Angel? How does he talk to wait staff at a restaurant? How does he treat the custodian at his job? How does he treat his staff? And then what is his health like? I'm 51 years old, and this may sound a little selfish. I am not ready to sacrifice freedoms because of your poor decisions in how you eat, drink, and care for yourself. Does my heart have the capacity to love a quadriplegic? Absolutely. Does my heart have the capacity to love someone with cancer? Absolutely. But does my heart have the capacity to love someone who totally abuses their body? Absolutely not. So that, to me, those is what I need to see demonstrated in a man for me to consider him husband material for Angel. Gumbo, what say you?
So I think this is just kind of like I would probably call this a recap almost. So I listened to Evans, I listened to Omega, and there are very similar tones in what all of us said. But I think where people kind of use this language about wife and husband benefits, they relegate it to like tasks, like things you do for the people, when it should really be about qualifying them along the way, learning what you learned along the way. Damn the task, because people are like, oh, they did that for them. But if you are qualifying that person along the way, I may do some extra stuff for you just because I think you cool, right? But somebody might be like, oh, he did that for her. That's a husband duty. Nah, I'm just doing that because I'm a good dude. I like doing that, and I qualified this person over the past 6 months. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that while I'm qualifying them to possibly be my wife one day. Now, there are certain things that they would have to Omega's point, earn access to. You're not going to know what's going on in my investment portfolio. You might not get a key to my crib. You might not, like, there's certain things you're not going to get until we get there. But along the way, I'm assessing the behavior. I'm looking at how you move it. These are wifely qualities. The benefits come later, but the qualities are always being assessed along the way for me, if that's my goal. Now, a lot of people don't have that goal and they don't give a damn, so they in a whole big old pot of gumbo, right? But that the qualifications you should be assessing in real time along the way, and if it ain't right, then you dip.
Tap, tap
that's
the
where I'm at.
screen.
Yeah.
You dropped the mic on that one right there. You dropped the mic on that one right there, Gumbo. I'm just saying. Now, all these men are married. They've reached the relationship goal. So there's some success in these words here. I'm just saying. Now, Omega and Evans, you all have probably the biggest contrast in what you're saying. So help me to understand, in your opinions, what is the downside of the extreme of being wifey as a girlfriend, hubby as a boyfriend?
I'll let my big bro lead. I'll let the
All
dialogue.
right, so I would say the downfall of being the the wife as a girlfriend it's clear if things don't work out. If things don't work out, there's going to be hurt feelings, possibly um, feel like you were used. You
Wow.
you added a body count, right? Um,
Mhm.
Trauma can come as a result of giving it your all, and start thinking of yourself as less, because when you go through an experience in which you've given it all that you have,
Just
you start to feel, okay, well, maybe I'm just not worth being kept. And that goes on both sides, whether
mm.
men want to admit it or not, they do feel that as well. So that's the downfall. But um, the positive is my vetting process. My vetting process, it's not foolproof, but it is the very best way of figuring out who it is
Mm.
that you're getting involved with. So understand, in particular, I don't even like the advice that I'm giving. I don't like it. It's it's a reaction to the dating market. I don't like I don't like to say do everything up front. It it seems a little too lax. And I'm a guy that believe in restraint. I believe wholeheartedly in restraint. However, because of this dating market that has changed, I met my wife at 19. But when I'm coaching people, I'm looking at people who are being turned into mush. I don't even know what word to use. People are being broken into to their core, where they
Mm.
need therapy for the rest of their lives, and it never helps. I speak to people who tell me I've been in therapy for 20 years. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
What's improved? I don't see it, because the relationships today is so filled with me that they
Mm.
will take you to the ends of the earth, and you think this has got to be the person, and then they just push you off. It's
Wow.
an ugly relationship landscape, and my advice today is a result of that landscape. I don't like to tell people be the wife before you're the wife, but you have to now, because I would not tell a man to marry you if you have not gone through those moments. And these are
Mm.
moments that are not easy to come by. How often does somebody get fired? Not often. How often do you have a fight? Hopefully, not often. But I need that fight. I've heard people tell me, I've never had a fight with my husband. Really? You've never disagreed with them? How
Somebody
did you do
lying.
that?
Somebody
I
lying.
never understood that, but people will swear it. And I say, well, just keep on waiting until that happens. Because when it does, it can be a surprise that you know you don't want to live with for the rest of your life.
So
That's why I give you advice.
Lady Rican Beacon says it's the childhood trauma that comes out the longer you're involved, and it's scary. That is very scary. Thank you, Evans. That was pretty profound. I'm gonna come to you last, Gumbo. Omega, same question.
Repeat it for me one more
Mhm.
time. So I want to make sure I get full context.
Certainly. So, what is the downside? Or, in your opinion, is there a downside when the person walks as, acts as, does as a wife or a husband as a boyfriend or girlfriend?
Yeah, I think and you said to the extreme, right? That's what I want to make sure you
Yes.
said to the extreme, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the extreme, and y'all have to pardon my little man. He's a little under the weather in the back. My wife's trying to settle him, so
Okay.
um, I'm gonna go help her after that. But there's a downside, and the downside is, well, can I start from the beginning of where it
Mm-hmm.
comes from? And
Mm-hmm.
this piggybacks off of what my brother Evans was saying, and also what the young lady implied in the comment is we're not taught proper self value as children. So when you're not taught proper self-value as children, it's hard to develop into a proper vetting process of your opposite, right? So how can you develop a proper vetting system of value for someone else and you don't understand your full value? So, like the young lady implied in the comments where she said this is your childhood resurfacing all over again, right? So there's this phrase, you bleed all over people who didn't cut you.
Mm.
And this is what we do in this vetting process. I saw a video last night where it was the cliche, oh, I forgot my wallet. I I I did it to test you to see if you're gonna have my back to do all of this. And I fully understand what Evans is saying in a sense of this is the climate. This is the current climate. We have to test people. We have to evaluate to make sure people truly mean us well. I think the problem is because we don't have our own self value that hasn't
Mm.
developed into a vetting system. We're
Wow.
doing these toxic ass tests. We're doing these very toxic tests. These tests that are not truly representative of what we're looking for at the base, which is good character people. We're not looking for good. We're looking for good character people, but these toxic tests that we're doing are not based in character at all because what is the root of where it's coming from? Either your shock, your trauma, or even your own manipulative nature. Let's not give everyone the
Wow.
trauma pass. Some people are just manipulative. They are.
Absolutely.
So, ultimately, the extreme is finding yourself in a situation where you're either taken for granted. You're
Mm.
taken for granted. I think we've all experienced that. I don't care whatever gender you are, we've all experienced being taken for granted. And that's
Absolutely.
what happens. That's what could happen when you give full access to yourself with someone with poor intentions. It's like a bank safe, right? A bank safe has all types of set of protections to it. There's two people that find their way into that safe, either the person who's supposed to be there or a thief. Protect yourself against the wrong one.
Absolutely. And the access piece is so critical. And I think people, how do I say this? We don't know how to date, period. We don't know, you're not taught. And so what ends up happening is I meet you, you meet me, we're googly eyes, and we're wrapped in this emotion, this euphoria of being in this amazing relationship. And we immediately pass go. We don't collect $200. We don't go around the whole board, and we're in love, and here we are married. And there was nowhere from the meeting to the marriage where there was dating. So it's no wonder that many people that are married aren't even dating because they didn't date before they were married.
Right, right.
And so the dating process, in my opinion, because I made this mistake, let me raise my hand. Woo, child. I was so guilty. I went from single to married, no in between. And now that I know what the vetting process, what that looks like, I have expectations when I go into dating. I hate to hear people say, I have no expectations. I don't have any expectations. The devil is a lie because you should have small expectations at the beginning and then they should build as the relationship build. Hey, that's dating, data collection. If I ask you a question, my expectation is for you to give me an honest answer.
Mhm.
If we exchange telephone numbers, I have an expectation that we're going to talk to one another. If I go into dating with no expectations, then I get nothing.
Yeah,
Gumbo,
yeah.
bless us. These two, first of all, Omega, I know you got to go and check on the, did you say your daughter is sick?
No, my son, but I think my wife done got him to calm down. So
Okay.
it's that tricky space where if I go and check, I might mess
You
all
might
that up. So
rails.
let me
Yes.
stay my behind. Evans know what I'm
I
talking about.
feel you. I feel you. Ooh.
If I go in there, I might mess all that up. So I'm gonna just
Yes. Just chill. We know if you need to exit. We totally get it.
Mhm.
Evans and Omega has dropped some serious jewels. And thank you all for getting us to 10K. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for gifting these amazing panelists. Gumbo, come with it. Come with it.
So this. I guess this would be called a piggyback, more so than. But I will say this, and I may say some of the same things. It may sound a little different or whatever, but the tones are still the same. So the worst case scenario of doing all of this, right? The wifey, husband, whatever stuff is, if you do it blindly, right? And to Omega's point, and I'll say it slightly differently, a lot of us are, we have childhood trauma, childhood wounds, we got all this stuff going on.
Mhm.
So we are dating people to make those things we haven't worked on feel better,
Ooh.
right? So here's the thing that I always talk about on my show
Ooh.
almost every week. If you are not self-aware, if you don't know who you are, all of these lists of questions you're supposed to ask on a date, your boundaries, your standards, how could you create them if you don't even know who you are? It's impossible. So whose boundaries are you using? It can't come from you, right? So now, boom, you in the dating pool like this. You find somebody to help make those traumas feel good. So now you're going to throw up on them. And you're going
Right.
to do all this
Controversial.
stuff we call wifey and husband duties. You will lose yourself
Where's
and
my
then regret
shoe?
the hell out of all of it
Where's
when it
my
explodes.
shoe? I'm getting ready
Yeah,
to throw
you're
my
gonna.
shoe at you.
I got the passport and the stamps. I done did it many times, and I was like, "What am I doing this for?" Until I did the healing work to realize why I was
Mhm.
choosing these people. I was just gonna keep rinsing and repeating and doing the most. And I always talk
Wow.
about people who would call themselves empaths.
Mhm.
They boundaries on zero, doing the most so
Doing the
that you feel,
most.
yeah. So I always tell empaths, your boundaries got to be stronger than average human beings because you're gonna give. You're gonna love me
Too
long
much.
time. You're not even gonna be looking at the red flags. You like, I just need to keep giving, and maybe I'll get some
Right.
reciprocation back.
Yeah.
It-
See, this is
Oh,
so I'm landing my plane.
ouch.
nah, this is all content that I feel like I've put into like my men's marriage ministry, this vetting process. You know what I mean? This vetting process. Things like the red flag fence, you know, build that fence around you, limit access to self. You gotta, and even for our women, we have, especially for our women, they have so much to protect, right? There's so much to protect. You have got to solidify that red flag fence and your vetting process, and stop basing it on Tyler Perry movies.
Oh, Jesus. I'm getting ready to throw my other shoe at you. Here's the thing. A lot of times people use red flags as scapegoat. Don't say that somebody's got a red flag because they triggered the last relationship that you're in.
Mm.
And they'll use that excuse and say, oh, that's a red flag. To who? For who? And then when I speak to some people, men and women, and they say, it just didn't work out. They had so many red flags. And then they tell me what those red flags are. And I'm like, oh, that's trauma that you hadn't overcome, that you haven't healed from. That wasn't a
Mhm.
red flag that they had. They should have seen your red flags.
You.
So that goes back to we don't know how to date. We don't know how to vet. Mm, mm, mm,
Mm.
mm.
You
I'm
you know
cooking,
what I've
man,
learned
cooking.
that, and I'm sure you guys have seen this. The red flag conversation is at least on social media for the most part, red flags mean if you are not the ideal guy, let me correct that. If you're not the ideal looking guy, red flags mean drop you right here and it's over.
Wow.
But if you are the ideal looking guy, are you sure that's a red flag? Maybe,
Yes, sir.
maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
little orange. The reality is, every person that has blood pulsing through their veins will have red flags. Red
Everyone.
flags does not mean it's the end of the road. It simply means caution, pay
Ooh.
attention. Will this be something that turns in? That's why these moments mean so much. Because
Mhm.
sometimes a red flag, and I know my wife has always said that I am extremely talkative. You talk too much. You tell too much. Why do you have to always explain everything? That never stopped. That never stopped. She's still here.
Your wife know
30
my wife,
years,
brother? Your
I
wife know my wife?
baby. So
know.
Your
it's
wife
like,
know my wife.
it's a
So
red flag.
Evan, so Evan
Yeah,
Stas said, red flag equals I have a problem that I see in you.
that's
Now
it.
let's be clear. There are some definite red flags
Right.
that a person has that is a legitimate big warning label. Skull
And
and
if it's that bad,
crossbones,
maybe it shouldn't be called red
voice.
flag.
What you want to call it? We can call it
Exit
something else.
sign. I mean, if you got bodies buried in the
Right,
backyard, exit
right.
sign.
Essayed and
It's
all of this
yeah.
stuff.
This should all be
Yes.
common knowledge at this point, right, sister? You
Right.
would think these are all common expectations, but I think one thing, if we got to think about it, right, what we really should break is this idea that we can only have good sex with bad people. Then a
Mm.
lot of people would change the way they date because every time I turn around, everyone seems to think they can only have good sex with bad people. What kind of logic is that?
Uh, that don't make no sense at all.
Think about it. You could ask grown women, grown men, and then you'll ask them exactly why did you walk past that red flag so many times over and over and over again, and everything. It's Dexter St. Jock, right? For my 80s babies, y'all with me? Y'all with me?
Daddy long
It
strokes.
it is daddy,
That's my generation.
right? Y'all with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or baby girl from where's the movie where she made him leave her wife and kids? What's her name? Layla Michelle. It was
Sunshine,
Layla
sunshine.
Sunshine. She threw it up, felt like sunshine. You know what I'm saying? Why do we only believe we can have good sex with bad people?
That
This is
said that
why you're
crazy be
ultimately
good, but it's
choosing all
toxic.
these wild folks.
Where do you think that reputation came from?
I don't know. I think it's an adrenaline rush, right? It's an adrenaline rush that comes with the anxiety of the person you're dealing with. It has nothing to do with anything else.
And definitely don't have anything to do with sex.
I mean, because how
Gumbo,
many
you agree with
times
that?
has
Where does this
Pookie,
come from? What do you think? Where does it come from? Why do people believe? And I have to say I kind of agree with it. Why does great sex come with bad people? Why do you think that is?
I don't think it's true. That's me. I
I think there's
personally
some
do
truth
not
to it,
think it's true.
but
I don't think it's true.
I think there's
No,
some
because I
truth
know
to it.
I'm a
But
good person.
but listen to what we're saying. We're saying
Hmm.
sex. We're not saying making love. We're saying sex. And I
Okay.
think there's some truth to it. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the adrenaline rush. That's what I think it is. I think it's the adrenaline
That's
rush.
certainly part of it.
Hmm.
Gumbo, you want to help me?
I so damn. I think I think sometimes, and this is I heard this from a friend. Um, I think sometimes there's a certain amount of vigor that comes from some toxic, traumatic. They just and sometimes we feel like we need that, like we
The
need
holy,
that
the
toxic.
holy oil.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
they don't give a damn. They just and you like, well, I
That's
need
it.
that.
That's it.
But then you got to deal. But if you decide to be in a relationship with this person, now you got to deal with the whole monster,
Right.
You
and
gotta
that's
And
have
the
you
the
other
don't want
woman.
that.
discipline. You gotta have the discipline. This is the one thing people don't. You don't practice discipline. You should be able to have the discipline enough to where even if it is sunshine, you act like you wore shades before. You're not gonna trick me out of my position.
Okay.
It's just I don't care if
Gumbo,
it's a sunny day.
when
I'm
Gumbo
gonna act like
said,
I've worn shades before.
See, this is
you
the
heard when Gumbo said,
downside of being the only female in the chat right now.
uh-huh.
Because a lot of pretty, beautiful women get that bad rap right there. They, it's like, I need me a umfufu because, these pretty women, they toxic. Beautiful women, they'll do the gog 3000. They'll have your toes curling and all of that stuff, and they toxic, they crazy. And I don't subscribe to that. Now what I will say is them soul ties is something special.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a level of toxicity associated with people that have multiple soul ties, multiple souls inside of them, attached to them. And so when you become intimate with that type of person, then you attach yourself to their soul ties and their soul ties. So there is, I agree with Evans, there is some truth to that. But here's the thing. If we take the time to vet carefully and get to know that person before you make that connection, you will save yourself a lot of pain and that toxicity, that sexual trauma that's associated with that toxic person. But we're not doing that. And I say we because I've been guilty, and a lot of women hang on to the words of men and not the actions of men. Hear me when I say words, actions should be like this. But unfortunately, we don't pay attention to the action because the sex is good. So how do we vet for a husband if we're blinded by the semen?
I
I don't have
think
an
I
answer for
think
that.
I mean, I think
it
she.
should be a evolution of like you because we've all been there, right? Then there comes a point where I believe if you have a goal of being in something more, but the sex is 90% of your priority, you'll never see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then we have to unlearn physically and mentally that our dependency on it isn't as and I know some people in the comments going it's not as necessary as you believe, like earth shattering, I'm going to die if I don't get it, because there's some people out there like that. And then when real life sets in and you realize that people go through stress and mental health and health problems and it ain't gonna be what you thought it was when you first met them, life happens. So now if that's your priority, are you leaving?
Wow.
Like, we gotta really like get to the point where we start vetting and looking for the other stuff too and have the great sex, but know that someday this might not be on 10 times a day because stuff happens. And
Because you got to go to work.
yeah, like,
Hello?
And see, I think it's a myth, man. It's a myth. Like
yeah,
it's a myth, man. When you think about, see, part of the problem with dating is they're dating on principalities that don't really apply to marriage. And this is what I learned after I got married. All of that shit that I was worried about when I was dating her got nothing to do with what we deal with on a day to day basis. Nothing. So I thought I
Whoa.
was prepared. And it's funny because every married man, when you ask him, hey man, what's marriage like? Man, it's a slight mumble. Like
Yeah.
it's a slight mumble. You just wait, young man, and you'll see.
The
Right.
Because
reason why. Oh, I'm
it's
Right.
sorry. I cut you
nothing
off.
like
Okay.
what you were vetting her for in the dating process. Your day to day is very, very different. And I think that's what's happening with people now. And this is why so many divorces are happening now. Because you have the false concept of what your reality is going to be. It's too much love and hip hop. It's too much.
Mm.
It's too much TV. It's too much scandal. It's too much how to get away with murder. It's too much. It's too much. All of this pose, all this foolishness. That's not
TikTok.
what your yeah. That's not what your reality is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not asking the right questions, Omega. Do you agree? You know, I remember spending a long time with the guy, dating. And I remember asking, do you see me as wifey material? Absolutely, Angel. Absolutely. Instead of asking, do you see us getting married one day? Two different questions, but I would have saved myself a long time with this
Hmm.
person had I asked that question because he didn't want to get married. But he saw me as wifey material.
Right.
But I never asked him, do you see me as your wife?
How long did he waste your time?
A year.
Okay. Okay. He should have
the,
told you.
most people that
Listen.
say yes, you wifey material, when you ask them that question, they don't even have enough information to support their answer to say that they are.
Exactly. The
They're gonna tell
hindsight's
you that to
2020.
pump your head up and give you hope, right?
Pump my
Mhm.
head
But they
up.
haven't they haven't even qualified you for any of those things to even know that you are wifey material. That's a
Right.
cliche thing to do. Like that's why I always be telling people, I'm like, you a lot of people don't even ask the questions.
Don't
I
Right.
even
don't
ask
want
the
to scare them
question.
away.
Don't even ask
I
the
don't want to
question.
ask too many questions.
Yeah, but
Don't
see,
even
this
ask.
is
Listen.
this is the
What
reality
you
of
guys.
it. Like,
What you guys.
I,
Hold on a second, brother.
go
Um.
ahead, bro.
What you guys may be aware of, or everyone in the chat, if you are married, you have to think to yourself: did you marry the person that was the best sex you ever had?
Oh, oh, oh.
I don't want anybody on the panel to answer. Y'all don't have to answer. I'm just saying nobody need to answer that. I'm talking about the people in the comments. Did you marry the best sex you ever? Because when if you are doing it properly, that is not a criteria. That's part of it, but it's not so major that you say, "Oh my God, the best that I've ever had." I'm gonna go find because that person was likely toxic. That person likely didn't care much about your feelings. They probably didn't care about your children. They didn't care about much. But what they knew how to do, that was the best. So when people keep on putting this standard on themselves, I just gotta get this. it usually don't match up that way. It just doesn't.
Well, that's dangerous.
One,
That's a dangerous position to be in. That's a dangerous amount of pressure to put on somebody, because I need for you to be with me when I'm old and dry and can't. And I need for you to look at me like I'm Miss America still. If I become incapacitated, I still need for you to love me through that. So you could have the longest, the thickest, the best, the stamina, and all of those things, lips and tongue work better than the rose and all of that stuff. But if you don't feel the same way about me when I can't, then I don't want you. I don't want it. I don't want it.
and
But
you're
when people
speaking
gonna
to
be,
why it isn't that high.
Right.
when are people gonna be honest and just say the only reason why all you can talk about is the sex because that's all y'all do.
Oh,
You don't do nothing else. Y'all don't go nowhere.
pass the collection
He
plate.
ain't never showed you nothing. You ain't never did nothing for him.
You only get the text at midnight.
Come on, like, y'all not y'all not
WYD
doing
at
nothing but that.
11:50.
So that's for, of course it's the thickest, the longest, the strongest because you ain't doing nothing else.
Baby.
And I had to take my glasses earlier because Brother Evans was staring at their souls, and I don't think they understood.
Look at here. Don't come to me. Don't come to Angel talking about, Angel, help me. I'm in love with this guy, and I just don't know why he hadn't proposed. And I ask you, is he right-handed or left-handed? What's his birthday? You been to his mama house? What does house look like outside of the bedroom? What does he eat like? Does he have good table manners? And you can't answer none of those questions because the only place you've been is his bedroom. You don't even know what he looked like outside in the light of day. Baby, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much.
She's staring at y'all souls right now.
What?
You know what happens when, and I'm just gonna I'll use the word Pookie. When Pookie comes, and I didn't mean to say that. When Pookie comes over, um,
Now
he's
you got to start
not
it all over again.
You
he's
know
not
what?
he's not
Why the
concerned.
married man always come on conversations with Angel? Cut it up.
He's not concerned about, and I'm trying to be as respectful to Pookie as possible. He's not concerned about your children. He don't care about your lights. He don't care about your health. He don't care if you can breathe.
Mm,
He don't care if your weave come out.
mm.
He don't care if you get cramps later. He don't care if you need to go to the hospital because you're feeling pains. When a man loves you, it's hard to match up with Pookie who don't give a damn about none of these things.
Wow.
And if I have to match up my love and my sex with Pookie that don't have to worry about love at all, it's an unfair match.
And there is a Pukisha. Let's be
You
clear.
better believe it. You better believe it. I meant it both ways. I meant it both ways.
There's a
Well,
Pookie and there's a Pukisha.
yeah. See, Brother Evans, when you compare their criteria, he doesn't look like Pookie. Pookie looks like Denzel because they started with corrupt material from the beginning. To everybody else, we're like, yo, why is she dating Ezell? And
Mm,
he looked like The Rock to her because of
mm.
that poor original vetting process. How
So
can we get people?
I want to hear from each of you. All three of my guests tonight are married. I'd like to hear, what vetting did you do to land the queens that you are married to today?
Oh, wait.
Y'all get your notepads out. Get your notepads. Get your notepads.
I can't wait to talk about my baby. Y'all go ahead.
We're going to start with Evans.
I'll go first because I have to be completely honest. I didn't learn about vetting until way later. I met my wife at 19. I got lucky. I got kicked out of college because I wasn't a pookie because pookie in the 90s wasn't really pookie like today, but a version a version of a pookie. I got kicked out of school. I came back home with my tail in between my legs, feeling. I left big man on campus, came back as the reject, and when I came back home, my wife moved in next door. I didn't have to do any vetting. I got lucky. It fell right in my lap. She was walking across my lawn, and I was like, "Who's this?" And we just met, and it worked. I wish I could say I did some great vetting. I really lucked out. I lucked out. The most vetting I was doing was her dad was a pastor. Her mom was like,
wow,
something in the church, like a deacon, not deaconess, but you know, the minister's wife, and it was just a good family. We connected, and that was it. I wish I can give you something much better. I really learned afterwards.
Much respect, and there are people like that. Gumbo.
I won't say it's a similar situation. I don't like, and I think times were a little different too, but I didn't have like a defined vetting process, and I learned how to navigate a lot of the stuff later on. I think in this case, and maybe in Evan's case too, it was about my idea of what a relationship should be for me and the duty that I assigned to it to make me stick it out long enough for me to build the foundation by which everything else came from, right? So it wasn't necessarily a defined vetting process. I just knew that this person had characteristics of what I would want. And I knew that I was willing to stick it out and work through the communication and work through all of the stuff even before it came. So it was more about my ability to stick to my commitment than it was doing all the stuff that we teach people to do now, because we have to do that stuff now.
Right.
But it's like, and that's not to say that no one should have ever done it, but we didn't, this is why we coach. We didn't have a handbook on this stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really about the quality of her character and mine together. So when all the stuff happens, it's like, wait, this is who we know we are, and we'll build from that, versus all of the stuff that I'm teaching people to do now. I'm like, wait, no, go this way, go that way. Okay, no, wait, they might be. It didn't, because this substance and the foundation of the character is
wow.
It's almost unnecessary for people to connect now.
Yeah.
They go past that, and then it's just like, oh yeah, we together. And I'm like, did you ask any questions? No, I didn't ask questions because I didn't want him to leave. And I'm like, you don't know him. Why are you afraid of somebody to leave? You know them for a week.
Is he left-handed, right-handed?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just basic stuff.
You know them for a week. That's crazy.
I mean, come on. What's his mama name? When is birthday?
Right.
We skip the basics, stuff. I'll never forget a meme that I saw on Facebook, and it was a young lady, and she says, I have this amazing guy that I've been seeing for a year, and he's good in bed. And we woke up one morning and he looked at me and he said, I cannot believe that you're still single.
Hmm.
A year,
Yeah.
a year. Stop being a girlfriend to somebody who isn't your boyfriend. Let's talk about that. But I
Mm.
want to know the vetting process of Omega, because he is twisting and turning in his seat and he just cannot wait. I can't wait to hear this story.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, my wife is the biggest blessing for me. So I gotta give y'all the little backstory. I was we've been married for 4 years, right? 4 years, right? But we've known each other since middle school. So we have known each other since middle school. We didn't date. Her big sister was in my grade. We have known each other since middle school. And conscientiously enough, her first love has the same government name as I do. God told her this man was for her, but
What?
it was, yeah. So me and this gentleman have the same first government name, but
Mm-hmm.
the vetting process for me and my wife, I had been previously engaged twice before my wife, twice before my wife. And when I was dating at the time, I was in a very toxic stage. I was a pookie for a season. I'm being very
Mm-hmm.
transparent. I was a pookie for a season, and I had said I am not proposing no more. That's too much money and too much humility. I don't think I got any more. I can't ask for more.
Wow.
So I was looking for a new church home. True story, looking for a new church home.
I,
And me and my wife were casual friends. Like I said, I've known her since middle school. She had suggested a church for me. So I start going to this church. Now, everything we've spoken about today in this vetting process, even to the point of deliverance from spiritual attachment system, is what I had to go through to prepare myself for my wife. What vetted her so strongly for me was I remember when I told her we had been seeing each other for about 6, 7 months. And she said to me, this is a woman of virtue as well. Okay. I say that to preserve her respect. So she was a woman of virtue at the time. So she says to me, she says, hey, look, I understand what you've been through. And I respect that you may not want to ask another woman again. But I'll tell you this, I'll walk you through it, but you can't take too much time. This woman prayed for me as I went through everything that I described before, changing my life around, re-delivering myself to God. I went back to God. I got rebaptized, all this other stuff. There's a lot of other dangerous things I was playing with at the time. This woman said to me, she said, hey, you know what? I know you, and I know this is a phase. So I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to put the men of church on you, but I can't have you around because I'm a woman of virtue, but I will pray for you. So it's funny. I was going through these things in my life, and every time I was at this bottom point, right, someone would reach out to me from the church or another connection. And it wasn't until I married this woman that I realized every time it was because of her. Every time.
wow.
So every time I had a situation that helped me rebuild in that phase, it was because she had sent that blessing to me. So I have this on film. I'll actually post this. The first time I actually flirted with my wife, we were casual friends. We went out to a happy hour, and for some reason, I was holding the phone recording, and I said to her, I said, you know what? I gotta say this. You're a very good looking woman. And she said, well, it's about time you noticed. And I said, okay. And I said, well, but hold on, no, it ain't too romantic. I messed it up after that. I said, well, maybe we both old. We might as well say. She said, mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
You're gonna have to redo that and come back. So the vetting process was boundaries and the fact that this woman showed me a willingness to invest in me at a different level. So no matter what she argues with, no matter what she disagrees with, no matter what she doesn't like, I know ultimately she does believe in me. And that's what made her most important to
Wow.
me.
Wow. What an amazing story. All three of you all, ladies and gentlemen, Conversations with Angel is just on fire right now. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got yet again another married man on the panel. Lord Brocode, he comes to us every day, Monday through Friday, for his show, sometimes lasting for work hours, 8 hours sometimes, talking about different things. And he is the reason why we're having this topic tonight. I was in his live. I think Evans might have been in. I know that Omega was in. And we were talking about a myriad of things and the conversation of being a husband, as a boyfriend, being a wife, as a girlfriend came up. And so I piggybacked on that and wanted to really, really dig deep. Welcome, welcome, welcome again, Laura, to Conversations with Angel. I've asked the fellas this question, and so I will ask you as well. Tell me, is there a benefit? Is there a benefit to being the wife as the girlfriend or the husband as the boyfriend? And what is the downside of being that before getting the ring? Welcome again, my friend.
Thank you, sister. I believe in marriage. Um, Throughout life, I've seen how being as a boyfriend and being as a girlfriend for years on years, and then at the end, after 10, 15 years, somebody pass away, and the significant other don't get jack. They have children. Everybody trying to figure out how to work out stuff. Um, the girlfriend has no say so in anything. And if the parents or the sisters or the brothers have a problem with you, they can just throw you out. I've seen it several times. We all have heard stories like that.
The
Um,
special friend on the obituary.
yeah, yeah. If mentioned at all, if that's only if the family liked you.
Woo.
Um, I myself, it was a very short engagement between my wife and I. I don't have much stories about just being boyfriend and girlfriend. I can tell you when I decided I wanted to get married, I hadn't even met my wife. I had turned 20. It was my 20th birthday. I woke up 6:30 in the morning. It was my birthday, September 5th, 95. I woke up and I sat up on the bed. My birthday. I had about 3 to 4 women I was sleeping with, and I sat up against the headboard and I was like, I started crying. I was like, I don't have nobody that means anything to me.
Wow.
I had girlfriends, but nobody meant anything to me. And I asked God to, I need a wife. And within like 2 or 3 months, I met my wife at work, um, in an argument. I was 20. I was 20. She was 19. And we worked at Walmart. And I saw her, and I like, she look young as hell. I know you gotta at least be 18 to be a cashier. So the next day when she was passing, and I said, how old are you? Cause she's like, I'm 19. And with an attitude or whatever. And then later on, I was doing something, and we kind of got into a slight argument, and we kind of laughed it off or whatever. And the next week, she had the key to my house, and and had
Next
a
week.
and had a boyfriend, and had a boyfriend. Um, she was home, she was home from college or whatever,
We
and
need Wifey on the show.
and that
What did she do to you?
nothing. We hadn't kissed or anything.
Thank
But
you.
when I met her, when we sat down to talk a couple of times before we even went out, I knew that this was my wife. I knew, and like I said, within 2 weeks she had the key to my house, and she would come by sometime in the morning. And we just laugh and talk. My grandmother, when I first moved to Memphis, I lived right across the street from my grandmother, and we'd go by my grandmother's house. And my grandmother would fix breakfast because we worked overnight. And one day my grandmother called me in the other room. She's like, "Baby, that's the one." And when grandma said that,
Yeah.
that was it. That was it. Within 3 months,
When grandma bless it.
yeah. Within 3 months we was engaged, and within 6 months we was married, and now it's been 27 years. It had up and downs only because of me. I still had street in my mind, but I had her
Right.
in my heart, and she loved me out of all of that. And she saved me.
Wow. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you all have picked up on this, but every last one of these men, these amazing husbands, have said one thing in common, and that is they knew she, I knew she, I was revealed that she was my wife. They didn't talk about her acting as a wife or providing benefits of a wife. One thing that I have learned in these many conversations, especially with men that come into the dialogue box, that DM me with different things, is a man knows fairly quickly
We know
what
within 3 months.
category.
We know within 3 months.
And I think, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that men really place you in categories at the onset. Keep her, smash her, or pass on her. Keep her, smash her, or pass on her. Now, a lot of that has to do with the exchange and interaction or how you carry yourself when they first see you. But I believe that men put you in categories at the onset. And then it doesn't take long for them to know if you are wife material. So why do you guys think so many people fall into the trap of providing for or giving up so much as a boyfriend or a girlfriend?
Let me answer that first. We know, like you said, we know from the beginning, in a very short time. Men do. Men know. Right? There's something that's in, and I talk about this on my show all the time. Women believe in possibility, and men believe in probability. I wish sometimes that it wasn't so much like that, because it would save a lot of women a lot of pain. Because they see that very thin sliver of light in you, thinking that something gonna change, and that's what kept us together so long. Because for a while I wasn't crap, but my wife saw something deeper in me than I saw in myself. But they believe in us so much, and they hold out just enough hope that it's gonna work out. And a lot of ladies, you've heard those people engaged for 10, 15 years. You've heard those people.
Ooh, I can't imagine. I
But
can't
we all
imagine.
know people that's like that.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
it's just that sliver of light that hold them there. And but we know very early on in a relationship what we gonna do and what we not gonna do.
Right.
Um, we do put women in the categories,
Hmm.
um, and once you're in that category, if ever, you may never get out of that box, despite what we say out of our mouth.
Right.
Once you're in that
Right.
category, it's hard to get out of there. And
And
no matter how
that's
much love
exactly
you feel,
what Novelty Life said. Women know up front as well. They just allow our words to hit their hearts. There is no truer statement. And we talked about that earlier. I wish so many of my sisters, and I had to learn the hard way, would match words with actions. And there is a charisma that I believe all men are born with that allows you all to say the right things. And a lot of times it's because we give so much information up front, it lends itself that a imposter can come into our lives and take up space or stand so tall that make us for a hidden imposter because we're listening to the words and not looking at the actions. Oh yeah, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you tomorrow, and we're waiting for and tomorrow doesn't come, and the next day, and the next day, and then he calls or sends the WYD text at 10 o'clock at night, and we respond to that. But we've just forgotten that he's told us for 3 days that he's gonna call. I'm just saying.
mama,
So how can we better educate us single people? And I'm saying we because I've been married before. How can we better prepare? Hello, leadership. How are you, love?
Every day.
that's a
Welcome
that's a
in.
great
Thank
brother.
you so much.
Good to be here. My first
Yes, he
real live.
is. I'm
You
so
inspired me.
blessed. Now, leadership, I don't know this or not. Are you married or single?
Married for 33 years. Beautiful,
That's what
strong,
I'm
great
talking
leader, black woman.
that's what I'm talking about. I was been trying to get a single guy to come up in here, but I guess it was just meant. God said, you know what? You need to hear from married men. And the more I think about it, the more elated I am that my panel is full of married men because it's sending two messages. It's sending messages that Black people get married, okay? It's fighting against the narrative that we don't. And these are men that have been married from 4 years to almost 40 years. This is a blessing. If you haven't shared this live with some people, I don't know what you're waiting on. But we have been blessed with these folks. And so to reset the room before leadership comes to speak, we are talking about should you be a husband as a boyfriend, a wife as a girlfriend? Should your partner receive the benefits of a husband or a wife? And what is the downside, or is there a downside when you move in that space as a wife and you're just a girlfriend, or as a husband and you're just a boyfriend? Leadership matters. I just met him a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, and I was thoroughly impressed with his commentary. We've sat on a live together, definitely in Laura's live, and I believe we might have even been on someone else's. Welcome to Conversations with Angel, where I bring content that makes you think, and we have conversations that maybe varied opinions or maybe the same. So welcome in to Conversations. What say you, Mr. 30 plus year married man?
Well, part of this, I'm going to tell on some of the facts that Laura was speaking, is that when we know, we moved, right? So I didn't even have that. I would tell you, I think my wife had a strategic advantage on me, but for our dating phase, it was 6 dates. I knew within 3 months I had asked, and within 6 months after that, we were done. We were locked and loaded.
Wow. 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 So wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I
You
know.
met and in 6 months you were married?
In 9 months, in 3 months I had proposed, and 6 months after that, you can't play when you know.
That's my
Ooh, and
story
how
too.
many years married?
33.
Wow.
You can't play when you know. So I'm like Evans. I can't tell you about the vetting process on my side. Now I will tell you that she probably had a vetting process on her side, because when I met her, she told me no for about 5 different times. When I met her, I was in the military, so I was getting my top secret security clearance. So she was a part of the interviewing agents that were doing it. So she knew more about me than I probably knew more about
Oh
than I
yeah,
knew
she
about
vetted.
myself.
She vetted you.
She, so she vetted me, but on the my side, it was like what I learned from my grandmother is sometimes you got to be still to actually hear the voice that's trying to tell you something. And we are moving so fast every day, just running from point to point, that we never take a moment just to be still and listen.
Wow. Well, and you know that that's biblical. And not to be overly religious or spiritual, but as a believer, I believe that you have to have this conversation and bring in the word of God. God did not deliver Eve to Adam until he was still. He had worked, he went to sleep, and that's when he delivered Eve. And the same with Ruth and Boaz.
And
That
I
that
think,
child was working. She
right.
was working. He
And I
looked
think
up and he was like, she wasn't sitting on the couch watching Netflix. She wasn't worried about
she's working.
putting what color hair she was gonna put in. I just colored my hair, y'all like it. Um, she was working. And he looked up and saw her beauty. He saw her as a wife. She was working. This man has stood here and he's told us that he had to be at rest for God to deliver his wife to him. Lord said that he was worn out. When he
Um,
made a decision,
yeah.
that's when God delivered his wife to him. There's
So,
something to say about. Mm-hmm.
I have to admit that I was in that place. I was graduating from college, and I was going to propose to the person that I thought was going to be my wife. Had bought the ring, and I was up at West Point and drove down to Rutgers with a ring, and I was going to surprise her like a dude, right? Surprise her at her dorm room with the ring, and I got a surprise. I got a
I can
surprise.
I can read between the lines on that surprise. Oh
So, and
my.
then that sort of was the catalyst for me to enter a phase to where I felt like I needed to be Genghis Khan and conquer anybody I could as a, and I don't, that wasn't a proud time of my life. It wasn't a proud
Right.
time of my life, but it was, and it took a year to get a first date with her. I mean, because at the time I was at Fort Bragg, I was an airborne ranger. Women like dangerous men, and so I was it was racking them up. And I was
Wow.
like, she told me no, no. And then I had given up, and then I had started to buy some property to invest. And I went randomly into a real estate office because I wanted to buy a couple of condos, and guess who was sitting behind the desk?
Your
And
wife.
and then I said, "What? Jesus is talking to us right now." And
Yes.
apparently, you got it.
They
Wow.
they always fall for that one.
The banana in the tailpipe. Black Chicago, where is your camera, friend? Welcome in, welcome in. How are
You know,
you?
I'm fine. I'm sorry. I'm talking from my computer, and the app puts my camera on upside down. I mean, I could try it. We'll see what happens, but I think I'll be upside down and too close.
I have not tried to do live from my PC or from my laptop. I have not tried that yet.
It shows
You'll see.
upside down, but it'll be straight. I have the same thing. It shows upside down, but it'll be straight. I have the same thing.
I'm getting an echo. Black Chicago, you may have to down and come back in because you're echoing.
I don't know why. Even when he comes on my show, he always has a bad signal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the first time we met. I believe was on your show. So while we wait for Black Chicago, gentlemen, what does wife material look like to you all? And not necessarily from your lens as a married man, but if you were speaking to your sons or you were speaking to young men, what would you tell them? This is marriage material, or would you help them to determine what marriage material is for them? We'll start with Gumbo. Hey.
Do you have sons, Gumbo? You have
Say it
sons?
again.
You have sons?
Do I have a son? No, I have a daughter.
No. Leadership and myself do have sons, and we've had these speeches.
Oh yeah, so you all are gonna be, you all are gonna
Let
give
one of
us
them
some
let one
good
of them go
some good
first.
nuggets.
Let one of them go first. I want to hear this.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Lord.
I'll let leadership go. He just got here.
All right.
Okay.
I have twin boys, 30 years old, 6'5", good-looking boys, and you know, where I think that I have failed them at is that they are not married, and I don't know that I can convince them to be married. When we talk, they're like, "Pops, you just don't know how it is out here today." And so I don't. And so I respect that. But when they ask me, one of the things that I try to have them focus on is you got to think with this head, and you got to think long term and not short term, right? Because beauty is, I would like to say it's fleeting, but I think my wife is finer today than when I met her. But
Oh,
conceptually, you if something happens, you have to be able to get through that, right? You have to have something other than that. You have to imagine yourself living a full and fulfilled life with that person. And if you can't see what a life would look like with that person a decade from now, you should question why you're doing it. If you can't visualize a decade from now, I think you should question if it's the right person. And then I tell them the same thing I do. Go sit down and be still. Think about the last 6, 7 interactions. Were there any red flags? Were there anything that gave you a pause for that little voice in your heart or in your mind is telling you something? Because a lot of times they're red flags, but we're excited. And when we're excited, we will drive past that stop sign like it's not even there. But just like if you drive past the stop sign in real life, there's danger. Sometimes you can get lucky, right? And no one is coming the other way. But oftentimes you may not. And so I guess I can get them to do those two things. I've come to accept that they bring a different friend over for Thanksgiving dinner and a different friend over for Christmas dinner. And so I've tried with them, but they have had to talk. Um, and I've just told them to be careful and to listen and to not drive past red flags.
I love it. Lower?
Um, my son is engaged. Um, he's been dating this young lady for well over 2 years. He wants to finish college first. He's already graduated from Lincoln University in Missouri, but he wants to get his master's and go on, which I understand. But I told him to find somebody that's grounded like his mother. She's a very intelligent young lady. She's in college as well. Um, I gotta kind of prod her to even get her to talk a little bit louder because she's such a quiet, peaceful soul. Um, but she's modest. She's respectful. Um, she makes me smile whenever I see her come around because I can see a perfect daughter-in-law in her. Um, a lot of stuff my son and I have not had to talk about because one of the things on my show I push about for a two-parent home. Reason being, it's easier for you not to have to talk to your children about stuff when they see it in action on a daily basis. He
Wow.
knows the interaction with my wife and I've had over the years. He knows how to be peaceful with his fiance. They don't live together. They don't live together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they are engaged and they're going towards marriage. But she the one. Now my daughter, on the other hand, the young man my son-in-law, I love to death. I don't know if y'all seen him sometime, come in my life sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost raised him. He moved in the next block when he was like, I can't remember if he was 8 or 10, and his father passed away when he was like 3. And he used to come down and play with my kids. And when I found out his dad had passed away, I kind of took up that role. And over time, he would come down and my daughter would call him like she don't want to walk to the store by herself. Would you walk with me? And they walked on. And they stayed cool until like about 15 or 16 until he moved away. And then they ran into each other again after she graduated from college. But a lot of the man stuff he learned from me. He would
Wow.
go out of town with us. He would I got him on my football team. So a lot of stuff, the man stuff, he learned from me because I knew his father wasn't there. And then one day he came to me. He's like, "Dad, I want to marry Tinky."
Ah,
I say, "Go ahead, man. Go ahead, okay." I approved him. I didn't have to check him out.
Were you cleaning? Were you cleaning the shot pew at the time? You were.
Oh no. But I've cleaned it in front of plenty of guys. But
wow.
so I know my dog's in
love
great
that
hands
story.
because I wish everybody had a story.
Right.
Yeah. I wish a lot of people guys had that story. I know I don't have to worry about him because he learned it from me. The good stuff and the bad stuff. And he's seen and we've talked about things. And I don't ever have to worry about my daughter because my man got her.
And well, Laura, if you're done, one of the things I want to add that may be hindering my boys is that I'm all about leadership. I married a great leader, and she just chose me to be her leader. Because in my mind, when I'm out in the world hunting and I have to get out of the command chair, I need someone in the command chair that can take care of the castle while I'm gone.
Woo.
in every manner. So they need to have the skills and the leadership to handle the business when I'm not there. And so I tell them, look for things like honor, look for things like character, look for things like, being trustworthy. Do they do what they say they're going to do? Small lies always become big lies. And that's always sort of that red flag. So I try to push them through a prism of, I know the physical is there, but it's got to be more than that. And if you sort of look at those leadership principles, a lot of times you can find someone that can be your partner for life. Because I'm traditional, and she will say, this man is the head of my household. He's our religious leader. He's our household leader. And that's the way we roll. But I would say that, a lot of times you don't test for character. You don't look for honor. You don't look for integrity. Look for loyalty. I like to tell them that, we men are historians, right? And a lot of times women are futurists. They can
Yeah,
see and imagine what's going to happen in the future. We tend to be strategists. We tend to believe that past history and past performance are indicators of future performance. We're historians. That's the way we fight our wars.
absolutely. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear you say that. One of the things that I teach in my femininity, it's not a shameless plug because it's my platform, so I can plug. My next femininity workshop is coming up on October 1st. So all of you all that are here, please share with women that you know in your lives that you feel that they can re-engage themselves in their femininity. But one of the things that I talk about is submission. And what you just described, leadership, is a perfect example of a man looking, yes, men want a soft woman, a woman who is feminine. But that doesn't mean that he's looking for a weak woman because femininity is our superpower. And what that translates to is I can submit to her because I know that there may be areas in my life or things that I do that may be weak. There may be weaknesses there. I may not be a good financial person. I may not be good with bills. I may not be good with X, but what I'm looking for is her leadership qualities in those areas. What complements me and how do I complement her? So it's not when, people tend to want to dismiss that word, submission, and the other, vulnerability. All of these men have spoken about at some point in their lives vulnerabilities that their wives did not throw up in their faces, but they took that data and helped them to refocus on their purpose. I love this. Welcome again, Black Chicago, and welcome to one of my moderators, Charles Reese, the first single man to come into this panel tonight. Yay!
Hey, how are you? How are you? You just kept saying you wanted a single guy, but all these other guys were doing so well. I didn't want to interrupt. I mean, I'm loving what's going on here. You know what I mean? But I will say this: that everything that you guys have been saying is amazing. I love the ideas and I love the thoughts and the thought processes and how you guys are putting things out. It's really awesome, and I'm really grateful for the fact of being able to hear that. Especially on that side of things where there is marriage still that's out there that's still solid. I mean, I'm divorced. Angel is divorced. We've all been there in that situation, but you guys have stood the test of time. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing. So I want to commend you guys. Say thank you so much for being those role models and those leaders of men that we need you to be. It's amazing and it's awesome to hear. Now myself, I'm the single guy. Hello.
Well,
But
we've
here's
got
the thing.
another single guy that's
Woo!
joined us as well. Carrie's Corner. Carrie is an author. He's a
Hey,
coach.
Kelly, how are you, bud?
He is
Hey, what's going on?
one of the reasons why Conversations with Angel exist. Really quickly, the very first time that I participated in Carrie's live, I had, what was it, 5 followers, Carrie? And he was talking good, and I was just like, oh, I got something to say. I want to say, and I kept saying, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to, kept putting it in the chat. And he looked and was like, who is this woman? And he looked at my profile, and I had 5 followers. And I sent him a follow request, and I was like, why did you not let me engage in your conversation? I had some things that I wanted to say. And Carrie said, look, cuz, you got to get your weight up. You don't have enough followers. You need 1,000 followers. And those of you that know Carrie's Corner know that he said it exactly like that. And I told him, I said, well, what do I need to do? And he said, well, why are you on here? Why are you on TikTok? And I said, well, I've just gone through a horrible divorce, and I'm hurting. And I did some pretty awful things during my marriage. I had some pretty awful things happen to me. And he said, well, then that's what you need to do. You need to tell people what you did and how you overcame that. Are you better? I said, yes. Well, then tell people. And in 3 weeks, I had almost 5,000 followers because I was vulnerable in this space. And he broke my live cherry, did my first live with me, and Conversations with Angel has evolved. So welcome, Carrie's Corner. Carrie, welcome, welcome, welcome. So to reset the room as we get into this amazing conversation, I've got a panel of gentlemen. How fortunate is this? TikTok. These are a bunch of men who've been married, who are currently married, who understand what it means to make the right choices, to vet correctly. And I am so blessed to have this perspective of gentlemen here. Black Chicago, welcome to Conversations with Angel. I am honored to have you here. We've been in a couple lives together. Thank you so much. I would love to
Well, thank
hear.
you for
This
having
is
me.
the question, Carrie and Charles and Black. This is a question that I've been asking the men on the panel tonight and those in the chat. Is there a advantage to being a wife as a girlfriend or being a husband as a boyfriend? And if there isn't, is there a downside, and what is that downside? So I'd love to hear from you, Black Chicago.
Well, I'm a little jaded and old, but I think that there are several advantages to a girlfriend being a wife because it puts her in that perspective of knowing how to treat her husband to begin with. Because I'm a firm believer that we men come into relationships that are real relationships acting and performing as husband. And where things get all kilter is that it's not reciprocated. As I told my wife before I got married, um, as I told my wife, if I have to tell you how to treat me, it's a no for me.
Wow.
And that's what it is.
Wow. So how many years have you all been married?
Well, this is my second marriage. I was married for 20 years the first time and 20 years the second time. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, and my
Wow.
ex-wife is my best friend. My ex-wife is my best friend. And I've been married twice and raised stepkids or a stepson and a stepdaughter. So, yeah. So I've done my part. I have kids of my own.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Welcome, T. So, gentlemen, we have a lady on the panel. We have a lady. Welcome, T. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Laura Evans. Relationship. I've been on panels with them,
Not
Oh,
just any
and,
lady.
and
That's an amazing lady.
yes, she is. Yes, she is. I
thank
love
you,
it.
thank you,
I love it.
Welcome in.
thank you. Hello, everybody.
What's up,
Yes.
T?
Hey,
So,
hey, Laura.
Cowrie, you and I we have spoken about this on so many different occasions. You know, like I said earlier, Cowrie and I have been friends now for, gosh, almost 2 years. What do you say about this particular topic?
Number one, the only reason I came in here late, I was here in the beginning, but the only reason I came in here late is because I don't get caught up in trap questions like this. Okay, I don't do this. Now, the the other thing is, let's just be real with it. It's not that I think a lot of people are looking for what they think is a wife, right? Um, what they believe, what somebody else has said, or whatever they believe is a wife. But everybody's individual, and there's a compatibility that comes with people. You should not be looking for a wife. You should be looking for the wife for you, because there's that person may not be of compatibility nature throughout family, throughout trauma, because everything must be in some kind of compatibility format. And that's where people kind of go a little twisted with it. Like, and and then there's a mutual respect of just response time, because wives get a different response time. President Obama could be on the phone with Mother Russia and it's like, hey, Michelle's on the phone. Ooh, tell her I'll call her back. I'll call her right back. See, because they get a different response time. And there's certain things that are different when it comes to the relationship. But people, they they look at the husband, they look at the wife instead of let me look at this human first. Because if I'm not compatible with this human, there's no way I'm going to be compatible as a husband or as a wife. So, to answer the other portion of your question, why I really came in here, ooh, um, see, a compatible partner doesn't mean that person is a wife. Okay, so this is one of the things we do. We think that my up and down time, we are so compatible, or we had such the great phone conversation, and he wears Jordans like me. We're so compatible. Okay, that's not a wife. See, but a compatible partner should be a requirement in a wife, right?
Gotcha.
It has to be, because the incompatible nature of humans at this point is so shallow that marriages don't really end with the big stuff like they used to. They end because I'm not happy.
Mm.
Okay? So if I'm compatibility, we don't have to be happy all the time because we're compatible. We know about each other's requirements in this situation. See,
True.
and for me, now to me, this is a calorie. To me, a wife is a person that I can see myself in. Not my old self,
Wow.
but my future self.
Wow.
A soft woman, delicate in her anger, and gently seductive in her leadership. A woman that sees, knows, and corrects my flaws without violating my vulnerability.
Wow.
A woman that I can see myself and my creator inside of her. And she will always, no matter what, is the authority in my absence, right? And the voice of reason in my present.
Wow.
That is a wife to me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So your perspective is a little different, obviously, for one, because you're single from the gentleman on the panel that spoke earlier, but it's very much aligned with what they've said in choosing their partners. I want you all to ponder this question then. Given what you've shared with us tonight, why do you think it is so challenging for people to get married and stay married? Mm-hmm.
Want me to do that?
Yes, go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, this won't take me long. You guys can have this quick. I don't need much time on this. Because you have the equation out of place. Okay? You're not in love. You need to be in expectation, but you damn sure don't want to get to the point where Joker has to love your ass. Okay? And this is what we messed up. We get it all twisted. We never learn who we're with. So then we start, if I learn who I'm with, then I can expect stuff from you. If I learn that you're dumb and you cannot make a space shuttle, I'm not going to ask you to make a space shuttle. I'm not going to expect a space shuttle. I'm not going to look for a space shuttle. But because I want to learn you and I want to expect from you, then I'm going to have to help you meet my expectations. And if I can't help you meet my expectations, then I need to stop damn expecting. Because love only happens at the end of expectation. As soon as you don't meet your expectation, that's when love happens, because they have to stay with your dumb ass through those expectations. I'm good, fellas.
Can I go next? Can I go next?
And I saw Laura come off the mic. So I love it, Carrie. You know I love your bluntness. And he is a men's mental health coach. So there's a method to the madness. Laura,
hey,
what you got?
I gotta get off. Y'all know I'm not supposed to be on here, but I gotta get off. But hey, I'm doing a divorce series for men to walk them through this. So follow me, Rumble, Tumblr, everybody, YouTube. I'm everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Calories Corner. But the podcast right now is on Rumble and all the other little places. But full divorce mode right here. Show you guys how this stuff really works. So even the women, find out what these men are thinking when they're going through. But I gotta go, Angel. Much life, much love.
Love you. Thank you so much. All right, Lord, what you got for us?
I think one of the main reasons people are getting divorced now is because they believe they have to be happy all the time. They've been sold this false dream of we're gonna be in love 24/7, all glitter and glam and fun, and it's not. It's ebbs and flows, ups and downs. As long as you have more ups than downs, you're okay. One of the main glues that held us together are our children, our love of our family, our understanding of duty, of holding things together no matter what. And they had a lot of no matter whats.
Right.
think in this time of social media, the to steal Evans' coin phrase, this toxic singleism that's going on in our community right now. That I don't have to answer to nobody. I can do whatever I want to, whenever I want to. And I believe on the male and the female side, it's been glamorized so much to where that is more important to have fun than to have duty. And it's bad. It's bad. Nobody wants to work through problems. They just want to. If I'm out there on my own, I ain't got to answer to nobody. I do whatever I want to.
Absolutely.
I, I I don't work like that. I say all the time on my platform that my wife loans me to TikTok.
Yeah.
She loans me to TikTok to mainly to speak about, because I've been redeemed to be able to do and act the way I'm a testimony to her and the change.
I
Um,
love it.
we have to understand there's something that is missing in our community right now. Like I said before, about honor and duty.
Mm,
Um, there is honor in loving your better half
yeah.
and being there for your children every day. And it's been so glamorized now that you can just give up and walk away.
Yeah.
And I feel like social media plays a big part in that.
I agree.
It plays a big part in that. That there's a reason why it's become the norm
Yeah.
to just give up and walk away. And we have to get back to where we our roots are, and that's together. That's together. And unfortunately, um, day by day we grow further and further apart.
Yeah. I agree. And there are a lot of influences, a lot of these conversations that I have in my workshops and in my circles, we talk about that and we talk about how marriage is diminished to the phrase, it's just a piece of paper.
I hear that every day.
And especially in the social media space. And I tell ladies that I speak with that come and talk to me, be very careful of the words that you put out in the atmosphere, because when you diminish the institution of marriage to it's just a piece of paper, you're already setting yourself up. You're sacrificing your morals. And then you'll end up getting stuck in situations because it's the norm. So I can appreciate everything that you're saying, Laura, because it is true. What's happening is it's unfolding. We are fetishizing being single and being sexually promiscuous, leading with our bodies instead of leading with intellect, emotional intelligence, with our mind, building and cultivating real relationships, and actually dating. Where does courtship begin? What happened to that? I look at right. I look at your marriages and the stories that you shared. Evans meeting his wife at 19 years old, and Laura meeting his wife. She's 19, he's 20, and there aren't a lot of stories that we're seeing that way. So when we have these types of conversations, we have to be careful with the words that we put out in the atmosphere as well.
Well, there's also
People are listening.
there's
Yes,
also
Can I say?
Charles.
sorry,
Can I say something?
there's
I'm
also
sorry.
a big point that we also have to remember also is this: love is an action word. It's not a feeling. That's the first thing we also have to
Mm,
remember. We have to choose every day to be able to have that as an action. We choose to do
mm.
that, right? So at the end of the
Wow.
day, I choose my partner. I choose that person every day. I choose to walk in some people have faith. Some people are not religious. Some people are whatever. But they choose to be that way, right? And those are the things that you choose to do, right? And you choose how you choose. Everything is about choices and communication. One of my biggest problems that I had being in the marriages that I was in was communication. But a lot of times we've talked about this before, that how many times when I do finally open up, has it been used as a weapon against me and things of that nature, those kinds of things. So I do, and I have done the work now to be able to be open and honest like that in those situations. But before, when I first walked out of my marriage, I was in a whole situation where I was like, yeah, I'm not going to say a word to nobody. I don't care who you are, because the fact is, the stuff is weaponized, things of that nature. Truly, and I appreciate the guys and their perspectives, and that it's a beautiful thing to hear their stories and how they are and how their marriages have worked out, and it's amazing. But here's the big kicker. At the end of the day, I love the statement that was made earlier, right? That you said earlier that we use three categories. Well, I only use two categories. I use pass and I use keeper. Those are the two categories I use, and believe it or not, I pass on a lot more people than I care to admit to. And the reason I pass on them is because of the fact that at the end of the day, it's not about your looks. It's about stimulating my mind. It's about keeping me, in that perspective of putting me in a position where I can be vulnerable with you and you're going to be vulnerable with me. And we can be, now, of course, I understand, obviously, I do live a little bit alternatively. I'll admit that. I have no problem with admitting that. We all know that. I'm a little different than a lot of people. But at the end of the day, again, the thing that I had to learn myself is I had to learn that communication is key. I bet if you talk to all these guys, I bet every one of them has been open with their wives and they've been communicative with their wives and things of those natures. And that's how they stood those tests of time. Whereas me, I wasn't, because it was weaponized and things of that nature. And I had to learn that. So it was something I had to learn as well.
Yeah, communication is key and understanding is the lock. You cannot have communication without understanding, and communication with a open mind that allows you to be vulnerable. What does that mean? When I say vulnerability, a lot of people run for the hills. And I hear a lot of men say, I tried to be vulnerable, but it was exploited. It was thrown up in my face. To that I say, then don't stop being vulnerable. Yes, protect your peace, protect your emotion, your feeling, but also understand what vulnerability really means. It doesn't mean just spilling all of your tea and talking about all these things. Vulnerability really means that you can recover from being hurt and not lay in the hurt. So accepting your vulnerability is, I am going to rely on my ability to recover from that hurt. When you know that you can do that, you're healed and you're ready. There are a lot of broken people that are walking around trying to be in relationships and are walking around saying, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, and do not have a clue of what Charles just talked about, how to communicate effectively, nor do they have a clue on how to vet, in which all of these gentlemen have talked to us about tonight. Vetting correctly. we've got to do better also of being good examples and showing and really calling out the bad fruit, the bad examples. If we want to build families, then we've got to be real about what that looks like. T, the only other female on this panel, I would love to hear your thoughts. Should a single woman who's a girlfriend be a wife?
Now, should is a word, and should she be a wife? If she desires to be a wife, if she does not desire, then stay single and leave these men alone. But oh, look at that baby. But I mean, it's personal preference to me. You know how I am, Angel.
I don't.
It's personal preference. I speak for myself. I know that I read somewhere it's not good for a man to be alone, and that includes a woman. It's not good for them to be alone. Human connection is vital, but but there is a time to be alone too. There's a season to be alone as well, to heal and gather yourself. If something happens, a lot of different circumstances that contribute to what a good reason to be alone now. But I
Absolutely.
personally, when this journey that I'm on, I don't just want to be alone. I love companionship. I was married 20 some years, so that tells you a little bit about me, and
Put
how I feel
Papa
about
up there.
companionship.
And
So,
and I think relationship might have spoken a little bit about this earlier. When you are in that space, when you're in the headspace, you know who you are, you learn who you are.
uh
A lot of us are walking around not knowing who we are and expecting someone to be in a relationship with a stranger that we
huh.
don't know.
Yes, people can tell when you don't. People, we all energy beings as well. We can feel and sense when somebody is not there. We can, my mom used to say, rest her soul, rest in peace. Now she used to say, sick people don't attract well people. And when she would say that, I'm like, what? I had to say it like 3 or 4 times for sick people don't attract well people. I'm like, so you saying I'm sick? I thought she was talking about me. Cause I was, cause at the time I was complaining about the boyfriend I was with. So that was a jab to me. But
Oh my
nevertheless,
God.
but nevertheless, the thing is, Angel, a lot of people have a real false narrative about what marriage is. This world system has perverted and dismantled and just totally what's the word I'm looking for? Let me just
Yeah.
make it simple. Just destroyed what
Flipped it
the
upside
true
down.
the true
Yes.
definition,
Yes, Evans. Yes.
so, oh my God. So I guess like, I was on the live early, and I'm gonna go to bed after this because I've never been on TikTok this long. But it's we I don't I don't subscribe to all these false narratives. I'm gonna stick with what I know is the infallible truth about marriage, and I'm
Right.
gonna ride with it. And somebody said it earlier. I'm just gonna continue to be a light because I do have a lot of influence in the sphere where I am now in my life now. So I'm just gonna continue to be a light, and you too. And I know the guys on this panel are too. The ones that I know
Absolutely.
and have heard, they all big lights. So
Absolutely.
that's all we can do because and then let things work out and play out the way they're gonna play out. Cause some things we cannot change. It's gonna happen. It is gonna be what it's gonna be. It is what it is. So we just the change that I want to see, I'm gonna be it.
I love it. T, thank you so much. And as everybody exits, as we come to the end of conversations with Angel, I'd love for each of you to take just a few seconds to share your final thoughts. We'll start with you, Gumbo.
Because I was about to say, I'm about to get off of here.
No, that's unfair. That is completely unfair. We got to follow relationship gumbo.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Really?
That doesn't seem fair, does it?
So I'll say this in short. There's a lot of amazing people on this panel tonight. We've heard a lot of things. I hope the people in the comments, and even we learn stuff from each other too.
Absolutely.
And y'all know I don't come up in these boxes. I got box anxiety because y'all be doing the most sometimes. But I'm here tonight.
And I thank you.
So I want to say this real quick. It's a couple of things I want to say, and then I literally will jump off. Number one thing is, and I always go back to this trauma space. There's a lot of people out here coping and calling it relationship. Whether you the sexual deviant, whether you the person that's looking for somebody to help fix you when you really need it, there, not we all, but a lot of us are out here coping, finding coping mechanisms in other humans and calling it relationship, and then wonder why it didn't work. Because it started off dysfunctional, and maybe you thought it felt amazing because you found somebody else that got as much trauma as you, and it felt like Disneyland until the ball dropped, right? That's number one. A word that Laura used tonight is one of the tenets of how I live my life in my relationship is duty, right? There's a duty to myself, to my significant other, and the goal that we set for our relationship. So when we talked about all the communication stuff, that thing wasn't perfect in the beginning, trust and believe. But I had a duty to honor what I said I was going to do, and we worked through it to the point now where the communication is amazing. But it didn't start out that way. I wasn't the vulnerable guy. Like, it took a while for me to get comfortable, but she had to be the person to say, I know something's not right, but I'm not going to push you.
Wow.
But I want you to know that I'm here. And she'd walk away. And then she would come back and say, when you're ready, I'm here. And then it took her to do that certain amount of times before I was like, okay, I feel safe to do it now, because she's not aggressive with trying to pull it out of me when she wants it. She had to understand that, and it took a while. That pushing makes it worse. If I'm already pushing it down, you push me, it's gonna go down even further. So she learned to relax her approach, and eventually now I'm like, hey, babe, I'm stressed today. I might not be able to do this. Now I'm throwing up on her because that's the only way she's going to know how to help the situation.
Absolutely.
To the point of what leadership said, if he's not available, she's going to jump in and do whatever needs to be done because now she has the information.
Wow.
Right? So I think I'm going to land my plane there. But I think because I can do this all night. We have to be self-aware. If we don't know us, we can't show somebody else what they're dealing with. So,
and we have to like us.
Yeah, we gotta yeah.
If you don't love yourself, how do you expect someone else to love you?
Yeah, it's a space that we weren't taught, right? This healing stuff and how to look inside and figure out who we are. It's a lot of zombies out here walking around talking about I'm in the dating pool, and I'm like, wait, you don't need to be in there just yet. Chill out.
Right. You're not ready.
You ready? Some people here's the PSA of the night. Some people don't ever need to be in the dating pool.
What?
Just stay at home.
Right.
Everybody don't need to be in there.
Right. It's crowded.
So anyway, I'm landing there. Follow me, and all you gotta do is click the link in my bio. I ain't gonna say a bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of goodies in there. Just go check it out.
Some amazing goodies. Thank you so much, Gumbo. I appreciate you. All right, Charles. What say you? Your last few seconds.
Well, again, another great live. We always have great lives, you always have great lives. You know that. I always love to just sit back and just be a part of listening. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's just listening to what the guests have to say. At the end of the day, the truth is, we have to understand that the fact of the matter is we need to first assess ourselves. We have to use self-accountability, and we have to make sure that we focus on that first. Once we do self-accountability, then we can walk towards healing. And once we understand what we need to do, then we are able to focus further and move forward. But again, don't just. I love the fact of what people are saying. At the end of the day, don't just look for something that makes you settle. Understand that what fits you, and what doesn't fit you, doesn't fit you. Learn how to do that, but learn how to set your boundaries right.
I love
I've
it.
got losing signal, so I'm sorry, signal out here. But
Thank
anyway, my
you.
point is much appreciated. I love your live. You know that. I'm always in here
Thank you
to
so much.
moderate and things like that. So thank you so much, guys, for all the great stuff
Absolutely.
that you got, information you're sending out.
Thank you so much, Charles. One of my moderators. Thank you all so much. Make sure that you're following Charles. All right, Lore, Papa on Papa duty with the beautiful granddaughter that we saw. What say you these last couple seconds?
On my live, um, I always say something about giving the young people the cheat codes to life. I'm gonna steal one of Evan's lines again. My brother. When we hear people talk about marriage is nothing but a piece of paper, as Evans always says, consider the source.
Mm,
Married people don't talk like that.
right.
We know it's more than a piece of paper. It's a contract of honor, of responsibility. More so that than love.
Yeah.
Um, the cheat code I'm gonna give y'all is something that you don't really hear from anybody else. But the cheat code to a successful, long-lasting marriage that me and my wife have always discussed is not the problem that's the problem. It's me and you against the problem.
Mm,
So we have an argument.
mm.
In the end, we know we're gonna be together, but we gotta push that problem away.
Wow.
We gotta fight that problem, not each other. So
Wow.
if you realize that you are both on the same team, and you are on the same team, y'all gotta go out there and fight that problem, not each other. And when you realize that the problem is the enemy and y'all two not the enemy, you got it beat, and you can make it to 27 years
I
or
love it.
33. 33 is the leadership. 33 years.
Yes. I love it.
You
I
can make it
love
there.
it.
Y'all on the same team. Fight like you're on the same team. Good night, y'all. I love y'all.
Love you, Laura. Thank you so, so much. Black Chicago.
My brother.
All right, I'm gonna make it short and sweet. For me, I truly believe that the bigger the expectation, the bigger the disappointment. People have great expectation, and then they find themselves disappointed, and that actually is a detriment in your whole psyche because now you want what you want, but if it's less than what you want, you are greatly disappointed. But I'm in with this. Most relationships fail, and I've posted this on social media, because people are more worried about what they can uh, get from a relationship instead of what they can give to a relationship.
Ooh. Mm.
People are expecting you to do all the work for them, but the fact of the matter is, both of you have to be givers. But if you are a giver, you have to have limits because takers have no limits. And I land my plane.
Wow. Oh, that's good stuff. Thank you so much, Black Chicago. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Evans, what you got for us, love?
Real quick, I wish that I could say I'm going to be brief, but I'm not.
Well, let me go.
Well, leadership said, let me go. Let me go.
I wish I could say I'm going to be brief, but I'm not. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'll be brief, but I do have something to say.
Okay.
Um, there was a question that was asked a little early, and I took my time to write down a couple notes. And I thought it would be important because it's important that we teach somebody. There's going to be someone in in the comments that are saying, Evans, how do I know if she's a wife? And I jotted down a few things. I think it's uber important that we choose the right wives. And at any time I get it wrong, leadership just let me know, say, hey, you ain't gonna make it to 33 years. All right, here we go. She needs to be feminine. Gentlemen, you want a feminine woman not because my brother Black Guru says so or Black Jesus says so or all the because it's popular. You actually want feminine because it actually lends to a lifelong relationship.
Yes.
If you embody masculinity, you're going to have too much friction with masculinity. So if the goal is marriage and for it to last a lifetime, you need a woman that is feminine. Now, some of these are going to be in femininity, but I'm going to give it anyway.
Absolutely.
You want your woman to be smart. There is a thought that people want dumb women. What am I going to do with a dumb woman? You want a smart woman. By the way, all these things, I'm trying my very best to infuse them into my daughters. That's my goal. Okay, so a smart woman that's slow to speak. If you see me on TikTok or anywhere where I'm having a disagreement going back and forth with somebody, one of the first things you'll see me do is listen. I want to hear what you got to say. I don't need to rush. I don't need to stop you. I don't need to cut you off. Say everything you got because I'm ready for you when you're done. Teach your daughters or pick a woman that's the same way. If she must speak first, it's because she don't have what it takes to wait. To answer, you want femininity, slow to speak, and smart. You also want her to be quick to listen. See, if you're slow to speak, you must obviously be, quick to listen, open to listening, willing to listen and follow. That goes right along with you say, Evans, you're repeating the same thing as femininity. I think it's important to know. Willing to
Absolutely.
listen and follow. If she's not willing to listen and follow, she's not. She might be a wife. Don't get me wrong. She's not your wife though. So don't think it means she can't be a wife. She certainly can marry someone else. You don't want to make that mistake though. All right. Last but not least,
Love it.
you don't want a hot girl. I know Cardi B seems cool. I know Megan Thee Stallion seems really, really cool. Some of you might even think Sukiyana is cool. You don't want to marry those people. Maybe that's too far fetched, and you saying, Evans, I don't understand. I'm going to make it simple. If your woman needs to be the center of attention when she walks into a room, she's not a wife. Now, her beauty can do it on itself. But if she has a need to be the center of attention when she walks into a room, she's not the one for you, bro. Now, of course, she has to be comfortable with that thought too. She has to be comfortable with that. I'm just telling you what's going to lead to a lifelong marriage. Last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to get out of your way, leadership. You haven't stopped me yet, so I appreciate you being kind to me, bro. She has to, and they argue me down on this all the time on TikTok. I always say that a man needs his wife, and his wife needs him. Not the want crap, needs.
Yes.
Because if I'm going to live with you for the rest of my life, if I'm going to put my life on the line to keep you safe for the rest of my life, I'm going to give up whatever I have to do, take care of whatever I have to do, literally lay my life down on the line for you. The word need is a step too much? I don't think so. She must show that she has a need for you. If a woman embodies all of these characteristics, you have found your wife. That's all I got, y'all.
And this is why he is the confidence coach. Thank you so
I
much,
appreciate it.
Evans.
No lies detected. No lies
Oh my
detected.
gosh, thank
I
you so
appreciate
much.
that.
Thank you so much.
Good night, y'all. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Leadership matters. Last but certainly not least. And I did that by design because you have been married the longest on the panel. What say you?
You know, something that Laura hit on that I think that we miss of why, you know, even when I talk to my sons, that they've been sold that marriage is supposed to be easy. That marriage is all lilies and rainbows and unicorns, and marriage is commitment. And so, you know, one of the things that I take to heart, because as a West Point grad, duty, honor, and country. So duty means something. Yeah. So, you know, and so that duty to family, that duty to your children, that duty to your community. And I think if we are focused on that duty, we can do that. To the men out there, I would say, I'm a believer in servant leadership. Real leaders lead in service to the people that they lead. And when you think about serving the people that you lead and not leadership for ego, it puts you in a different mindset. You can get in that mindset where you're always looking to help, to please. You're working on happiness because you're leading in service to someone that has put their life and their trust in you. And the last two things is when you're looking for, sometimes what we don't look for is we don't look for this thing that my grandma used to call grace. And it's that demeanor, it's that thing that makes people act right when that woman walks in the room. It's those ladylike qualities, that grace, that quiet strength, that it's that something that you go, oh, something special just walked in the room. And when you can identify that something special just walked in the room, you know, that changes it. And last is growth. You know, being married so long, you actually are sort of a different person every decade. And so if you're not talking to each other and communicating, you're not growing with each other. You're not growing with each other. And I'll end with every woman, if you are in a serious relationship, ask that man this. Am I your peace? Am I the place where I'm a soldier, so I'm always in protection mode? My wife is the place where I can lay down my arms and I can close my eyes and I can feel like I'm protected, and I can find peace and rest because I know she has my back. Whatever happens, she has my back. And when you feel that, you're in a different operating mode, right? You're just in a different place. So, you know, this is, I'm new to TikTok. My wife said, you know, nobody wants to hear from you, you old head. Nobody wants to hear from you. So,
well, you tell her that we appreciate you, and I thank you so much for gracing my stage, my virtual stage, with your presence, and I appreciate your wisdom.
You run a class live, and I've been very selective. I'm sort of new. I was like you. Laura came in and said, dude, you need to get some followers 2 weeks ago. And so I started putting some stuff on there a couple of weeks ago. But I am very selective in the lives I participate in. And you run a class live. I just could not. You made me use up all my allocated TikTok time.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Thank you
Thank you
so
for having
much.
me. God bless.
Absolutely. God bless you. So there you have it. Here we are, another hump day, another opportunity to have a conversation. I thank you all for sitting in my virtual living room where we can talk each week, every Wednesday, on Conversations with Angel. Join me again next week. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about next week in this whole dating and relationship space is, has dating become a rich man's sport? Is dating super, super expensive? Are people going in debt to date? That's next week. If you are a lady and you want to embrace your femininity, please sign up for my Femininity 101, Healing the Little Girl Within. My workshop is October 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to unpack a lot of things and learn the difference between feminine energy and masculine energy, how to move and flow in the God-given superpower of femininity. You can find the registration link in my profile in my link tree. Thank you all so much for having a seat with me. All of the wonderful panelists that you heard tonight, please make sure that you follow their platform. I love you, and I truly, truly mean it. Thank you so much for joining me, and you all have a good night.